Hello, can you hear me now? Hello, hello. Alright, so I'll just recap everything I said. Welcome to the Zugzwang Champions Concours, the event form right here. This will be a 6-round 10-0 Swiss tournament held today. That starts in approximately 10 minutes. We have around 30 players as of now, but over 40 registered. We'll wait for them to trickle in. But my name is Sarveshwar. I'm going to be your host and commentator today. You can find me at Sarveshwar S on chess.com. I'm rated around 2100 rapid. So, however, you will have to take everything I say with a grain of salt, as even though I'm 2100, there are people in this tournament that are participating that are over 2300 over the board. So I might be out of my realm here, but anyways. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Chestnut. As you probably know, the winner of this tournament will be winning a Chestnut Go board over here. That is unboxed, unopened. Not unboxed, unopened. So even though that's unopened, I have an example here. This is a Chestnut Air, a version of the same chessboard from the same company, Chestnut. So thank you to Chestnut for sending us thousands of dollars worth of boards and for sponsoring this event and allowing us to give one away to one of you wonderful participants. As well as a thank you to chess.com for helping us plan and market this event. So, with that being said, I want to get into the ground rules of the tournament. I've gone over the format, and as this is held on chess.com, you'll be subject to the same fair play guidelines. And if you suspect anyone of infracting one of these guidelines, feel free to fill out the fair play violation form, which can be found on our registration form, or you can ask one of our Discord server administrators, and we'll look into it. That's that. If there are anything else, any questions, feel free to ask me. But as we have 7 minutes left to go, I'm just going to watch the participants trickle in. Right. So, for the record, you may not use Stockfish, as Mr. Antarctic Chess thinks it would be okay. Just getting out of the way, no Stockfish, no help of any kind. We have 6 minutes left. Anyone care for a game of Bullet? Right, so... Five minutes left to go, and we have a new #1 seed, Mr. Ashwin Chunchu. Rated 2300 on Rapid. while we have time, I'll go over some of the features of the Chestnut Go board. So I'm going to use this board as an example. So the Chestnut Go board is a digital chessboard, meaning that you're allowed to play on chess.com by moving physical pieces on the real board. And it's quite lightweight and relatively small, meaning you can carry it around in your backpack. In fact, this is one that I've actually carried to school back and forth every day for the last month or so. It's quite nice. It has ports on the side, as you can see here, if you want to download your games to the cloud, or maybe just, download your games, and that's also used for charging. That's about it. Right. Now that we're nearing the event with less than 4 minutes to go, I'm gonna wish good luck to all the players, and I'm gonna ask that you close this tab. As when the tournament starts, we'll be commentating games, and that would be considered a form of help. If you do not close the tab, you will be in violation of the fair play standards and will be disqualified. Speaking of the fair play regulations, tomorrow the 4 players will be held to a high standard in that they will need to have their video, they will need to be on video call and will need to share their screen for the entirety of the tournament. So whatever you may think that flies today will not fly tomorrow. Two minutes left to go. Oh yeah, now that we've had this stream up and running for around 10 minutes, would you guys say it's laggy at some point, or would you say it's okay? I'm hearing mixed responses. I'm gonna go with Mr. Flaming. Right, so on that topic, if you have any concerns, feel free to reach out to me or Nicholas or Liam, respectively Nico7 and Kia on Discord. That's about it, as we're nearing 1 minute till the tournament. Once again, a reminder to turn off all cell phones. I'm kidding. A reminder to turn off this tab. "30 seconds till the tournament." As a final count, we have 36 players enrolled, with the top seeds being 2300, 2100, 2000, and 2000 respectively. 10 seconds left to go. And the tournament is underway. we're going to look at the first board here with Mr. Flaming Horror, or Shangwei An, playing Mr. Greatodu the First, Mr. Chochu. Seems like they've gone into a Sicilian defense, looking quite theoretical so far. I believe what he's going to do is take here, but you take there, take back, and it's a exchange. Yep. Ooh, Fianchetto. It's quite interesting. Developing a bishop. I'm expecting Mr. Greatodu to develop his knight, although that could run into e5 ideas. Develop the knight and castle would be my plan, or my thought of approach, as white is, that's what he does. There you go. Mr. Shangwei develops a knight, they both castle. Looks like we won't have any typical Sicilian opposite side castling type situations here. However, it is quite a provocative opening choice. We're seeing the players head down to their first think here, with Mr. Greatodu down 1 minute, with Mr. An only down 10 seconds, which is quite enticing. For black, what would you suggest what would you suggest he does here? Ooh, he lunges in with the knight, opening up the bishop, with ideas of eyeing these two pawns as well as the bishop here. Now, I don't think he would like to trade off the knight for this bishop, as this is quite a passive bishop compared to his active knight attacking the king side here. But, you know, they do say a bishop is worth more than a knight. Oh, he does trade. How interesting. Alright, opening up the file here for white. He pushes the pawn. It blocks in the bishop, though, which I'm not quite sure about. Mr. An retreats the knight, attacking the b2 pawn. Now, he pushes. Ooh, the eval bar takes a dip due to this tactic of check and taking the knight. I would say this is unrecoverable here, but we'll see how the cards play out. Takes the knight, and he's up 4 points of material. That's quite tough for the first game of the day. Alright. We'll wish the players the best of luck, and we're gonna move on to the second seed, with the NM playing Mr. Arav Batua. Alright, let's see what they're up to here. Remember what these gonna be on d4. Ah, the England Gambit. It's quite interesting to play against an NM, but you know, you do you. Seems normal. Nope, not normal. With a 2-point advantage from the NM here. Right. We'll fast forward to the current position. Ooh, you can't take that knight, for the audience wondering, because it would mean that the queen could take your rook, which is unprotected. However, Arav pushes the knight away. C3 danger levels. If you take my knight, I will take your rook. But, ooh, we see the first result of the day from Mr. Arav and the NM. Unfortunately, the NM wins with white, moving on to the next round. Let's hop back to the first game. Let's see if anything's changed. Seems relatively normal. Just a couple of pawn moves by both sides and reshuffling of the pieces, with the bar still heavily favoring black's position. Let's move on to the third one, with another NM playing 1000 rated player. Develops the bishop. Ooh, another heavy advantage for black, with an advantage of 2.2. How did the king end up being such a my favorite variation of the Carl is the tall, but it is quite provocative, so I see why you don't want to go with that system. This move here, though, blocking in the bishop with your pawn, is quite questionable. But anyways, let's go to the current position. It seems that black is just up 3 points of material. That seems unrecoverable. Ooh, down an exchange now as well. That's okay. We'll let those two fight it out, and we'll move on to the next one. That guy at chess versus the lawman looking okay, down 2 rooks. That's questionable. However, let's see how that guy at chess converts his position. What would I do here? I was looking at sacrificing for absolutely no reason, but there's absolutely no reason to do that. Ooh, takes with the rook. And this is quite an easy endgame to win, as you're simply up a rook. Let's head back and see if there are any other changes. There are actually quite a few games that have ended with both the NMs ending up on top with 1 point each. Which is not to say the others. There are also 4 people behind me who have 1 point respectively. So it is still a quite close match, as it is round 1, but I digress. Ooh, this match has a rating disparity of around 1200, so we'll keep that in consideration. Let's see what opening the players ended up going into. Seems to be another Carl Con, but this time a fantasy variation. Wow, it's quite interesting. Opening up the game. Right. Opposite side castling? No, same side castling. That's interesting. So for those wondering, you can't take the bishop here because your queen's under attack. This is the current position. Looks like black is simply up 2 points of material. 1 point of material now. Up a solid 1 point in terms of advantage, according to the eval bar. We'll let those two play it out. Check if I got any comments here. Looks like this game has ended with that guy at chess winning, converting a rook up advantage against the other player. Let's look at this game. Quite an attacking game with a sacrifice. It's quite brilliant. Let's see what these players play. 4. Okay. Seems to be a BMF type position. Ooh, G6 there, okay. Allowing bishop H6, allowing them to get this incredible diagonal. Sacrificing a knight. Ooh, so this position, there's a +4 advantage for white here. But the move isn't to take. Now, let's see here. I think it's to take the bishop. It is to take the bishop. Because the point is, if the king takes back, you maintain this pin. And you could win the knight back. Ooh, before I got to the end of that variation, you see that they've ended the game. Mr. Jonas has checkmated his opponent with this fantastic bishop that landed there on move 8 or so, I believe, right here. So let's move on to the next game. Actually, let's go back to the first game. I wonder what's happening. Okay, that seems like a drawn position. This game, mate in 6 for black. Let's see if we can find mate in 6 here. Up to drawn. Sorry, that was mate from an earlier position, I'm guessing. Okay. Still a plus 1.6 advantage for black, which is quite hardy. And I think he should be able to convert on it as a 2000 rated player. We'll look at the other games. Only. Okay. Another Carl Khan here. Seems quite heavily in favor of Mr. Sai, with a plus 5-point material advantage and a 5-point evaluation advantage. I wonder how he converts this, but it is quite simple as he is up a queen for a knight. So, there's that. Let's take a look at this game over here. This might be one of the closest games to date. With white having a pawn and a rook versus 2 pawns and a rook for black. This should be drawn according to the evaluation. It's a theoretical draw, but could a normal person convert this into a draw? That's questionable. Okay, you shouldn't take the pawn there, as you can take back, but anyways, come back and taking that pawn is simply a draw, as the players offer a draw in every. Okay. We still have 2 games up and running. Let's check this game. Seems to be heavily in favor of black once again, with a plus 4 advantage. Although, it does seem quite dubious given that black has this diagonal and is cutting off the king's escape. But there is that. That's interesting, as when white takes and you take back, that pawn is hanging. But I'm assuming Mr. Lalu has calculated all this. As we see here, I'm guessing he'll take back. Ooh, there's a tactic here, actually. Let's say you take back and black takes. I think you might have... Oh, I was looking at this, but no, that's mate there. So, let's see what Mr. Lalu played in the actual game. We're nearing the end of round 1, actually, with only 3 games left to go. Sorry. Took back. I'm still in this position. Alright. Let's go to the other games. -3 advantage for black. Although, can you look at that sack there? It's quite interesting. He chooses to go with a rather passive move, taking up squares of the bishop, I guess. We'll take a look at the standings. So, we have... Let me check here. We have 16 players with 1 point each, with 2 having 0.5, and the rest having 0, with 3 games left to go. It's quite an even split, given that we have 37 players in-house. Alright, just to clarify, 4 people from today qualify to round 2 tomorrow. So I'll just type that in here. 2 people. We have 3 games left to go. Let me just check Twitch chat real quick. Looks to be a smooth conversion. This game should be winning. Up a queen. Ooh, taking a pawn there. You could be bound, okay. We see him attacking the rook here. And, sorry, give me a couple of seconds, just figuring out Twitch chat here. Alright, I'll leave that be. Mr. Sai wins his first game of the day with quite a fascinating and beautiful checkmate here. A smothered mate of sorts. The rook blocks this entire back row, and the knight delivers the final check. There we go. Let's see here. We have 2 games remaining with Mr. Yo and this guy. Rook there. It's quite interesting. Taking the knight here. I think the best move would be to take it back. Ooh, that move. That unfortunately hangs that pawn. Taken with queen here. And both players are actually nearing the edge of time trouble with 1 minute each, respectively. Rook there. Going back. Now how does black break through in this position? Up 6 points of material. Up a rook, simply. I would go rook here. Next move, just taking this file. Sorry, not file. Taking this row. But we'll see how it goes. White is, however, nearing getting flagged with only 20 seconds on the clock. Bishop there. Is that not a free bishop? Okay. Up 9 points of material now. We'll move on to the next round. Black still up 5 points of material. Up an exchange and up 3 pawns. Rook here. And also white having a time disadvantage again with only 16 seconds on the clock. Queen here. I'm assuming to attack that pawn. These rooks are quite powerful, having the entire file to themselves. Moves the king there, which protects that pawn. We have a battery here on that pawn, which is protected now. White eyeing this diagonal with a possible check in the future. Protecting the pawn once again. Ooh. White loses their queen in time trouble. 2 seconds on the clock. 1.1 second. And unfortunately he flags. I think that concludes our first round, with the second round starting subsequently. Let's take a look at the standings here. We have 19 players with 1 point each, and 2 players with 0.5, and the rest with 0 points. However, you could make a comeback. This is very early on in the game. So, with the first round on, I would say the top rated players, that the early first seeds have an advantage here, but anyways. Alright. Round 2 is now officially underway. Let's take a look at the games here. The first seed goes to Fishing Cat 123 and Grito do the first. Let's see what opening they've played. This time Mr. Grito is white, and he seems to have played the Vienna Gambit, even without the pawn on e5, of course. Seems to be relatively normal. No fluctuations in the eval bar, still 0.0. Slight advantage to white, though, 0.2, but that's not really convertible. Castles, both sides castle in the same way. Let's move on to the second game. Seems to be an English opening with Fianchetto Bishop. Alright. Again, due to the fact that this is the opening, none of the players have a resounding advantage just yet. So we'll see what it turns out to be. Both players down a minute, respectively, even. As for what I would play here, the knight on the center is looking quite weak, vulnerable. So I'd retreat that, but I see where this is coming from. You have ideas of going bishop e3, bishop e3. We'll let those players. Ooh, an opening of the bishops here. You don't want to trade this bishop necessarily as white, as it does give the queen this diagonal and could pose problems later on if you decide to castle that way. However, we'll see what the players decide to do. Retreating, blocking the diagonal. Alright. Now, Mr. Shoforatu and NNM seems to be a system again with the dark square bishop being look at this time. Sicilian defense seems to be normal. Players shuffling out to this position, then even position. However, I would say in black's position, the white squares are quite weak and could be taken advantage of with this bishop. A plus 1.7 advantage for white now due to that move. I wonder why. The king forced to take on g7. The bishop being pushed back. The bishop has nowhere to go but here. And the bishop goes here. And you take and take back. This pawn is now hanging. However, would you want to go into that line? Because black does have this open file for the rook, and could later on moving the knight out of the way. And if you can get to the queen on that file, that could be quite dangerous. Anyways, let's take a look at the other games. That guy at chess versus Will Fisher. That guy at chess having a 2-point advantage, 2-point material advantage. Put some knight in the center, opening up an attack on this bishop, as well as an attack on this bishop, because it's overloaded. Yikes. Seems like we can chalk this up to white. Sorry, to black. It's black that has an advantage here, which is quite interesting, because black has a rook and 2 pieces versus a queen. See black opting for danger levels here, attacking the queen. Attacking the queen. Plays out, defending the bishop, forcing the queen to go somewhere else, and removing protection of this knight. Next game we have Sarbash, not me, playing against Yo. Anticipated Queen's Gambit. Personally, that's my opening of choice, so I approve going for this setup. Alright, trading off the knight for a bishop early on. With 2 knights in the center, the queen being thrown around rather. I would say I prefer this position as white, however, it is still the middle game. White has a 0.7 advantage, but is that convertible? That's quite questionable. Let's move on to the other games. We have Karaso playing against Flaming Horror. So I actually know both of these people, so I'm kind of in a situation here, but black is up 8 points of material with a 7.5 point advantage on the eval bar. So it's pretty safe to say white will be winning this game, unfortunately. The king's in the center. That might look like a sack, but it's not really, because if you take you win the rook, yeah. Let's see any other interesting matchups here. The game between the Anon and Triflatu has come to an end. It seems like this is the final position. Knight versus... Well, the position looks even. The 1 point advantage is +5 for white. Let's see how white converted this. Oh no. This position, the black queen is on the same file as the white rook. So what you want to find here is a way to get the queen off of this file with a tempo, and a check, and then you can pick up the queen. Unfortunately, I'm taking on the lemon shark here. +5 advantage for white. Even though, sorry, -2 advantage for black. Even though it seems to be an even position in terms of material. Why is that? I think it's because black has quite good control of this diagonal here, putting massive pressure on that bishop if that knight ever moves. Also just pushing these pawns down the line. The other games, this one. Black is up 2 points of material. However, black's up 2 points of material because they can recapture, so it's not worth a while here. But white is up 1 pawn after this exchange, so can Sarvash recover at disadvantage? We'll find out. Which pawn would you take here, actually? On one hand, you could take with a D pawn, opening up this file, which is what he chooses to do, but you could have also taken with the F pawn in order to reinstate your pawn structure. A rook on the open file here. That's not liked by the engine, as it gives white a +2 advantage. I think it's because white can place a knight into this outpost here, the d6 square. Let's see if that works. That seems to be the move. Any other games we can look at? Let's look at this one. Arav, a member of Zugzwang, seems to be down 3 minutes on the clock, with a position -1, the 1 point disadvantage. However, this pawn could be dubious as it is quite close to promotion here. I'm choosing for c4. The idea behind that move is to it's quite a dubious move. Sacrificing a pawn to what avail, really? I guess we'll find out. Going back to this game, it seems to be won by Mr. Flaming Horror. Close that. Mr. Carmen D2 versus Mr. Dylan. Takes backward pawn. You can take a bishop or queen. Ooh, pushing the pawn there. That's interesting. I think you could go bishop h6 here. Or oh wait, sorry, that's not a good move. You can go queen h4, continuing to put pressure on the knight. Putting pressure on the pinned piece. As if the knight moves, you'd win the queen. I don't think you can protect the knight after queen h4, actually. Now I have to think about it. And he finds a move, giving white a +4 advantage. We'll see how that turns out. Ooh, the king. What I'm looking at here is this knight check. With a knight c5 check, g takes c5, g takes f5, chooses this. This is better because not only does it put pressure on the pin piece, but if you take, first of all, I can take back, or I can immediately go in with queen h6. It's quite an interesting game. Not to mention that pawn's hanging, but that's not really important in this case. Let's see what he goes with. Chooses to give the check first. Pushing the king back. I think he'll take here. Once you take back, given black does a nothing move, like push the pawn, white can go back, put pressure, forcing the king back, and then you can go bishop h6, skewering the king to the rook, and then you can take the rook. Yeah, I don't think that's what he'll go for, however. We'll see. The two NMs, the two title players in this event, have also won their games. This is a game with black simply being up a bishop. So that's that. This seems to be an equal position, with a slight favor for white, being +2 on the eval bar. But it does seem like he blundered here. We'll see if Mr. Yo can figure out a way to punish that mistake. We're nearing the end of round 2 with only 4 games left to go. Carmen D2, time pressure here, with only 30 seconds on the clock. Knight, can take back. Yeah. Ooh, that actually wasn't the best move. It's interesting. There was mate in 3 here. I think the plan was to go here. Yeah, and then if black takes the rook, we can go here, and that's unstoppable. If you go here, it's mate in 1, because there. Oh wait, sorry. If you take the rook, you have mate in 1 in the corner there. But this is the resulting position. You can take the pawn there, which I think you'll find being up 1 minute and 40 seconds. Just a different approach. Alright. All 4 of our games are now reaching a point where players have less than 1 minute on the clock. This will make for an interesting fight. Mate in 2 here for black. Mate in 6 here, sorry. This is the first upset of the match that we've observed so far, with a 600 taking down a player rated 400 points higher. Go back to this game. White seemingly won on time. Alright. We'll see the players finish this match. This game going down to time trouble. What's the position here? F takes e5. I think the eval bar is just seems to be quite a drawn position. Probably not. Down 2 pawns and a rook. Yeah. Fortunately, he lost on time. But that marks the end of round 2. All games are done. Round 3 is now in progress with the top 4. Actually, let me take a count here. With the top 9 players having full points, 2 out of 2. That means we're going to see some interesting matchups here with the highest players being matched against some of the fellow highest. Such as the first seed here with 2300, Mr. number 1 seed going against Mr. Yo. Chooses a Trumpowski, quite fitting given the circumstances at the time. Judges this, the Raptor variation, according to chess.com. Supports a knight. Alright, that seems quite normal. Let's go to the second seed, where Mr. Coalescent, Batman, is taking on the under 16 youth chess champion, Mr. Jonathan. They choose to go down the Grunfeld defense. This name is normal. I can't attest his theory, but it seems normal given that white has a +1 advantage out of the opening, given that white has the center. Ooh. I'm assuming that was a mouse slip, but that doesn't bode well here. I'm assuming he went to castle, but it's a mouse slip. Ooh, that might mark that end, but we'll see. Let's see here. Take a look at Grippy 150 and Mr. Flaming Horror. Choosing a 4 knights. Being +2 out of the opening. That's another upset in this case. What is the move for white here? Is it to take? Takes. It is not to take. Let's see if we can find the move here for white. Seems to be queen f4, moving the queen out of the way. And still continuing to put pressure on that pawn with ideas of bishop c4 and so on, forcing the knight to retreat. As there is no squares, you could put the knight on the edge of the board, but that's questionable as it can be easily attacked. Let those two duke it out. We have Mr. Otto versus Sarvesh here. Let's see what it seems to be a Carl Khan, this time the advanced variation. Choosing a hyper solid position. Giving up the pawn again. White has a +1 advantage, which is now changed to -8. It seems to be quite a volatile game. Sarvesh looking to get his knight out into the center of the board. Let's take a look back into the first game. Mr. Greatodu has a 1.5 advantage in terms of evaluation. Mr. Yo has a 0.3 advantage. Let's see what happens here. I'm assuming b5, opting to counter the pin with another pin. I think Mr. Greatodu will take here, damaging pawn structure. But we'll see what happens. Take a quick moment to look at chat. game is underway. Let's see how the other games are going. We have this game. Seems to be quite normal. With a +1 advantage for white, though. White giving a check and attacking the knight simultaneously. I think you could block there. But Mr. Jonas choosing to go to g7, king g7. The idea is that if you take, I can take your knight back. That's right. Dubious. Take the knight back with check, I might add. Which is quite interesting. But it does mean that your king is quite in the center. Assuming this move. Ooh. I completely missed that move. If you choose to go there, it's not a fork, because the bishop could simply take, as seen here. But now, that pawn is on the 6th rank, and the white queen is under attack. So I'm assuming Mr. Jonath goes for something like queen e8, possibly, to get out of the fire and possibly blockade the pawn later. We'll see how that turns out. We have one game ended already, with Mr. Drippy triumphing over Mr. Flaming Horror. So quickly, what happened? Ooh, okay. This move is quite questionable. There, alright. That's a double attack on that. Alright. Moving on, we'll go back to this game. With retreating a knight. Black has a 0.5 advantage, however, I don't think that's convertible. Pushing the f6 pawn, allowing white to fire back with a4, trapping the bishop. You might say, oh, how's it trapping the bishop? Bishop has a c4 square. For after a4, bishop c4, there's b3. And you can't go here or here because of the queen. And, yep, that seems like game over. We'll see if white catches that. Yep. Call back to this game with Fishing Cat. Fishing Cat seems to be up 5 points of material currently. Choosing to take back this knight instead of this knight. As this knight is quite trapped, because it can't go here, here, or here. Well, it could go here, but if you go there, your rook seems to be trapped and easily attacked, so I wouldn't recommend that. Let's go back to this game. With Lemon Shark taking on Mr. Sai. Queen c2, offering a queen trade. I think seems to be quite an even position. Yeah, a 2-on-1 here. Ooh, queen a1, queen a2, queen takes a2. That gives white a 5-point advantage. What's the move here, though? I wonder. Oh, queen a2. What that does, it gets your queen to the edge of the board, and most importantly, you can play e4. That's not the right move, however. In this position, you had to play queen takes g6 check, giving a check on the king, and also infiltrating the position, as well as gaining a pawn in the meantime. And then you have ideas of, if the king goes there, you could go there. You have ideas of taking a pawn with the queen being under attack with tempo. But unfortunately, Mr. Side misses that. Opts for this variation, where he has a negative 0.8 disadvantage. The rook, of course, is under attack here. But I assume Mr. Side is going to play rook d2. We're yet to find out. Let's go to this game. It seems quite evenly matched, with Mr. Acosta taking on Lawman, both rated approximately the same. Mr. Lawman has a 0.6 advantage with an isolated passed pawn. We'll see how he converts this advantage later on. Shifting back to the first games, seems quite evenly matched once again. Not evenly matched. Black has a 3-point advantage, pushing the pawn here. Ideas that you can't take, because if you take, your queen is under attack, double teamed, so when you take back, you can't take back with the king. So I think Mr. Yo will opt for something like bishop g3, possibly just getting the bishop out of the way. However, you do lose a pawn and allow him to infiltrate. After bishop g3, there's e takes d4, e takes d4, and then knight takes d4. So, first game, that seems to be quite volatile. This game. Ooh. It seems to be quite even, actually, with the NM having a 0.5 advantage. That seems... White has these two connected outside passed pawns. However, black has this pawn. I think white should be able to win here, but it could be drawn according to the eval bar with absolutely perfect, flawless play, which is unreasonable, but anyways. We have Fishing Cat taking on Paulinho. White has a +5 advantage. This is due to the fact that white simply is up a knight, not to mention these connected pawns. A 3-on-1. So, yep. Fishing Cat again. We'll go back to this game. Servation of seems to be questionable, as white has an extra bishop. He opts for e4, getting the pawn out of eyesight of the bishop and rook, but not only that, it also blocks the queen's vision of the rook. Queen goes here, because if the queen was there, black could have ideas of b4, possibly winning the pawn, as you can't take, because you lose your queen. We're also down to 1 minute on the clock. see how this pans out. Choosing quite a passive approach, I would say. I'm the pawn, sure, but it's quite protected, so I don't know what's happening there. Load up this board. C6. Idea here is to push the pawn, wrap your king around, and it should be E7. Yeah, wrapping around, and you're forced to give up your bishop. And this is winning. Alright. This thing is played out. And Cat wins. Right. Sorry, Mr. Shoferatu wins. Go back to this game, are of under time pressure. Declining. Sorry, offered a draw. So Ashu declines, unfortunately, and wins by checkmate. Quite a nice checkmate, might I add. The king being trapped on the edge of the board, just suffocated by white's pieces. Let's go back. That takes us down to 2 games. And funnily enough, they're the 2 games that are the highest seeds, highest boards. With Yo having a 4.4 point advantage. Sorry, a 2-point advantage, which was thrown away by this move. I think the idea is that... Okay. I think the idea is that the king could take c7. We'll watch that play out. Both players in relative time pressure, with 27 on the clock for white and 1 minute on the clock for black. Ooh, there's a tactic here. Rook takes f2. In this position, black could have played... Black could have played rook takes f2. Turn on Explorer. Black could have played rook takes f2. Rook takes f2. And black had bishop takes e3. Forking the king and rook and winning a minor piece in the meantime. We'll go back to the actual position here. This is the resulting position. This pawn seems quite far advanced. Ooh, deflection. Unfortunately. Oof. Black finds a way to win, recovering from a position that was +2. Sorry, -2. We'll go to this position. White is winning, but can they find a way to not draw and win in this time pressure? 2 seconds on the clock. Oh no! White draws the game up 2 pawns with a 5.8 evaluation advantage. That's quite heartbreaking. But however, this does mean This does conclude the round 3 games, with three people still in first place with full points, 3 out of 3 points, and 2 close behind with 2.5 out of 3. Let's take a look at the next games. I'll read chat. With Great Odu taking on that guy at chess. Seems to be a French defense. Choosing a quite provocative approach. Actually, let's do something. Why don't we go from the bottom up? We'll leave the top-rated seeds for later. Let's take a look at my friend Flaming Horror here, who seems to have played the E4 Scandinavian. Seems to be quite an interesting position. Black having double pawns compared to white's connected. These could be targets later on. However, white's king does seem quite vulnerable with this f-file being taken by the black rook. Let's move on to Sarvesh versus Mr. Paulinho. Let's see what happened here. I'm assuming this is a Karo Khan, according to the structure. A tall variation by this h4 pawn. Takes on b2, okay. Knight e2. That's questionable. I thought theory here queen c3, meaning that the queen can't take the a1 rook. However, I wonder how this was played. Black choosing to go e6, sort of protecting that pawn. Alright, that's how the cookie crumbles. White now has +6 advantage. Yikes. +7. Even though black is up 1 point of material. We'll see how that turns out. Ooh, the game between the two titled players in this event ends in a matter of minutes, 2 minutes. We'll see what happens here. Seems to be another Scandinavian forward. Seems sorry. Rook there, okay. Takes. This is +1. White allows pressure here, and this is pinned to the rook. Yikes. let's see, Mr. Jonah here. Seem to have played a Queen's Gambit of sorts. This one, this is the Queen's Gambit light position. Take the knight. Both have isolated pawns here. Isolated queen's pawn. But white has a rook on the e-file. We'll see what happens. Going back to this game. It seems to be an endgame. I think white's gonna go here. Yep, stop the pawn here. And then this should be winning with a 2-on-1 here, as well as a 2-on-1 here. Black simply has no way to protect this pawn, because you could go rook a1, but then white just brings the king over. Actually, it's calculating there, and then king down. If you go there, white simply puts a rook behind. No, sorry. Then they have rook b1 ideas, so you go down. Now, if black tries to give the rook a3 check, then that simply does nothing, as if you take, I can take back, and win the pawn later. All of white's assets are protected, while black's are quite vulnerable. That one being hanging, as well as this one being hanging as well in the future. Seems to be a win for Flaming Horror. Give me a moment while I check up on the fair play form. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that, I'm just checking the fair play form. Seems that we've gotten into ourselves into an endgame where white simply is up 2 pawns. Sacrifices a rook. I'm hoping Mr. Flaming Horror knows how to mate with their rook and king, as I've been playing them and he's quite good. Please tell me he knows how to mate with king and rook. He does know how to mate with king and rook. Very well done. Let's go back to this game. Sarbash and Paulinho. Paulinho simply up 4 points on material. Alright. Let's see, Kasub versus Amin. White has 2 pawns for black's bishop, but is that enough? That's questionable. White can go to h1 here, rook h1 here, to eye up that pawn, but that's quite an empty threat. Yeah, they could simply do something like that. Ooh, you have a tactic here. You can go f6, luring the bishop in. If bishop takes, queen takes h6 not only wins the pawn, but it pins the bishop to the king. White doesn't find that, unfortunately. We'll trickle back into the first seed game. I'm looking at the logs here, and it seems that they've offered a draw 3 times and declined each time. A fork here, but queen e2 simply, while white was up in exchange, that's no more, simply queen e2. If knight takes d1, remember you have to take this first, because if you take this, your rook is hanging. Or you could do that move, yes. This is an even endgame, and I expect this to trickle out to a draw. But black does have a 1-point advantage, so we'll see how that works out for the highest seed in this tournament. Right. We'll see how the other games are turning out. So let's actually take a look at the standings here. If it load up, we have Mr. Raymond Gao, a national master, with 4 out of 4 points. And we have Great Odu behind with 3 out of 3. However, it does look like this position is going to fizzle out to a draw, so we'll see how that goes. While this loads. Give me 1 minute. Just checking the chat here. We'll move on to other games. Let's see this one. Black won by checkmate, unfortunately. We'll see this one with Mr. Arov. Mate in 5 here. Let's see if we can find that. Alright, that's gonna slot to white there. Seems like we're nearing the end of round 4. 2 more rounds left to go. There are people with full points, but that doesn't mean anyone can come back here. Just checking fair play form. The first seed game ended in a draw. We have 2 games left. We'll see how those turn out. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the standings. We have Mr. Gout with 4 out of 4, with 3 people falling close behind Mr. Jonas, that guy at chess, and Grey Todu. And behind them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people with 3 points each. Personally, I would say these are the ones in running at the moment. However, anyone can catch up, as I've said before. We have 2 games left, including this one. This is actually the last game left. Sorry, I misspoke. Seems like white has a 1-point advantage. Let's see if we can convert that. 4-point advantage now. Alright. Plus -2 advantage still. 13 seconds on the clock. Seems like this is a bullet game now. Anywho. Shuffling back and forth. How would you break through his white here? Sorry, break through his black here. Then he's gonna go. Ooh, he takes a pawn. Interesting. I would try to go here, maybe. He trades off the queens. That's basically game over now. Threatens a trade. Ooh, the bishop. Okay, both players didn't notice that. Anyways. White runs out of time, and we move on to the penultimate round of the tournament. we have one person with 4 points, 3 falling close behind with 3.5, and 6 with 3 points. In the case of a tie for the top 4, the tie breaks will be played tomorrow and will most likely be before the 2:30 tournament. Ooh, Mystery Cow choosing a rather elementary approach, can I say, to bring the queen out first. Wonder what he's planning here. I'm pretty sure black just has d5. But anyways, let's close the last few games. Board 2, we have the players with 3.5 each. Seem to be even. I believe it's the same opening that we've seen throughout the last few games here. Royal bets, interestingly enough. We'll let those two battle it out. Third seed. Shark playing the Scandinavian. All games are quite drawn out. We'll take a look at Suresh, actually, matter of fact. Both have 2 points. They seem to be finding it out, both being relatively even. Seems like he opted for an Italian opening. Seems relatively normal. Choco Piano Theory. Let's take a look at Flaming Horror. Ooh. This is a game between Mr. Dada and the National Master. Seems like he's under quite a bit of pressure. That pawn, with the king and queen, sorry, the queen and knight being quite close to the king. He gives the check here, which is blocked by the bishop. And he allows this, unfortunately. I wonder if that works, though. It's +5 for white. And dropping down to +2, apparently. Good luck to both players. We have a game finished already between Sarbash and Chess Hacker. Let's see. It's like they missed a pin. They can simply take the queen. That's unfortunate. And a mouse slip, I'm assuming. That does mean another person jumps up to 3 points out of 5. That could be one of our qualifiers. Let's take a look at the other games. This one being quite volatile with -4, a 4-point material advantage during quite the opening stage, I would say. Anyways, alright, so we're missing the first game here. sip of my water here. This is the penultimate round, which means this is where the stakes are highest, I believe, other than the last round, of course. But seems like quite a few games are ending early, namely 2. But let's take a look at this game. Okay, that's quite a decisive advantage for black there. I'm assuming that the idea is to pick up either the knight or the bishop due to the pin. Let's take a look at his second game. The second seed game, sorry. Seems even. Both players opting to castle queenside. Where black does have double pawns compared to white's connected, which is why I think white has a 0.2 advantage. However, it is still anyone's game, as that's not a decisive advantage, in my opinion. Let's take a look at the standings again. Ooh, this game taking quite a turn. Mr. Lemon Shark is up 3 points of 3 points in terms of evaluation advantage, upsetting the ratings as he is around. There's a disparity of around 500 points. However, this game's still looking quite drawish. Let's take a look at the other games. Black has 2 points of material with a -4 advantage. Alright. Alright, so as this is the penultimate round, we're going to take a quick little break, 5-minute break. I'll be right back. I'll leave the first board playing. black, seems like we got quite a few decisive results, especially in the first few games. First highest seed rated games. Seems like the Anam took down Mr. Beethoven, who was fortunately the highest seed, 2300. As well as the second board, where that guy at chess took down Mr. Jonas. Let's see how this game ended. G3. Let's see the position here. Seems like black is just up quite a few material points. Up a knight, sorry, up 2 bishops for a knight. That's fair. That means that the standings have shifted quite a bit with Mr. Gao and that guy at chess having 5 and 4.5 points respectively, compared to the next two, which have 4 points. But it is still anyone's game, isn't that? So that is not to be discouraged now. Let's take a look at the games still going on. We have Mr. Christopher versus Lemon Shark. Seems to have a decisive advantage for black once again, with a 5-point material advantage and a 4.2 point stockfish valuation advantage. Let's see if he can convert this. I'm assuming so. Rook there. That could be considered a brilliant move, according to chess.com evaluation. There, queen takes g2. The idea is that you win a pawn, and the king is forced to capture, where you then play knight f4 check and win the queen back. So, anything else played in the game. But we have white's rook on the 7th rank. That is quite looking for black. However, you can simply defend it with the rook d7 as seen in the game. So I think it's pretty safe to say that black is going to win that one. Let's take a look at some other games. Looking at Kasub, knight in the middle, he has a 10-point advantage, as he's up 14 points of material. I think that's pretty drawn, wouldn't you say? Anyways, moving on. Let's take a look at Mr. Arav from earlier on. This seems to be heavily in favor of white, who's up a queen for a bishop. However, he does only have 2 minutes on the clock. So let's see if he can convert it into time. Other games going on right now. We have this game with They Know Me under 1 minute. So, this just in. The player who's second in our standings, that guy at chess, is currently playing chess in a car, which is quite questionable. But anyways, if it works, it works. Looking to the last few games, we have 5 remaining games. Let's take a look at them. Yeah, this game with Mr. Arjun Sai and Mr. Singh. Seems to be quite evenly matched, as white has a knight, but black has a pawn and a rook. Sorry, a pawn and a rook for a knight and 2 pawns. Giving a check here. Now, to be clear, you don't want to move into the white squares. That means you'd be susceptible to a discovered check, which means you would possibly be losing the rook, or even worse, checkmate. Both players down to less than 2 minutes. We have 3 games remaining, the penultimate round. So I think the majority of you are done. 2 games remaining now. I want to take the time and ask, did you enjoy playing this tournament today? I hope you had fun, and if you had any feedback, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, that's about it. We'll take a look at the last game. The next round is starting as soon as this round is over. Alright, so we have a forced rook trade here, the last game. Mate in 4 plus 10. That concludes the 5th round. We have one person, Mr. Gao, with 5 out of 5 points. The second player, that guy at chess, has 4.5. And we have 3 other players with 4 out of 5 points, respectively. We're witnessing Mr. Greytoad play another national master, a player who has 3.5 points. Just go to the second round pairing here, where Mr. Gao is playing the second standing player here with 4.5. Seemed to go into an Athens Sicilian. Oh, they offer a draw, and they draw by agreement. That's quite a strategic way of going about this, but that does mean, I believe, if my math is correct, that both of them are guaranteed to be the top two, unless, of course, by tie breaks. So, I'm pretty sure we have 2 out of our 4 players already, putting extra pressure on the others who have 4 or 3.5 to come through. Let's actually talk to that guy at chess. Alright, let's go to the next game actually. It seems that one player has lost who has 4 points, which means that yes, that guy at chess is guaranteed a top 4 spot. Let's see how the others do. So there are 2 ways in which this plays out. These, both Mr. Gao and that guy at chess are guaranteed the top 2 spots. And then there's 2 people with 4 out of 5 points each, who if they both win their game, they're also both guaranteed top 4. However, if one of them loses their game and one of the players of this game win, that means one of these players will advance into the top 4. So this is quite a crucial point in the game, in this tournament. So, however, it does look quite even. I'm sure both of the players want to change that, but it's a thin line between wanting to win and being provocative and overdoing it and losing. So I would really want to see how the players go about doing this. It's similar to the situation in the last round of the candidates, where essentially 4 people were tied for first place, which isn't completely true. There was one person who was leading, but there was a tree of options where it could lead up in any one of them being first. Let's take a look at the other games. Right, and for the record, those of you who are qualified for the top 4, tomorrow you'll be under extenuating circumstances where, because you are the top players, you'll be subject to higher fair play restrictions, meaning you'll have to be on video call with your mic open, as well as you have to be sharing your screen. So if you're down with those regulations, please continue, but if you don't approve of those, please reach out to me so we can arrange for the second or the other qualifiers to be your replacements. With that being said, let's take a look at the first seed again. Seems to be a Scandinavian defense as from earlier. Black's pushing on the queen side here. I expect b4 as done there. So if black really doesn't want to take here, as if they take, they'd have an isolated pawn. However, this move is quite dubious. You do not want to push here, because you give black this square. Mr. Grey Toader chooses to deal with that by sacrificing a pawn. Sorry, not sacrificing a pawn. You can't take that pawn, as if you take that pawn, your knight will be hanging. let's see how Mr. Kolesnit deals with this. Personally, I would play something similar to, there are multiple ways to go about doing this. You could put your rook on a8, but that's quite passive. You could put your queen on c8, that's also quite passive, and you're hanging this pawn as well. So I expect Kolesnit to just simply retreat the knight and possibly reroute it to the center or something. But it's not looking quite good for black, as white has outstanding pressure here, both on these two pawns as well as the center, where at any point white could simply break through and get a passed pawn rolling. So we'll see how that pans out, but that doesn't mean white's not under any threat either. At any point, black could simply move the knight, and it'd open up an attack on the rook here. Now, what I expect Mr. Greatodu to do here, I think he will be happy to sacrifice the rook in exchange for a knight and a bishop. So I expect, yep, that's what he does. You take back, you can take back with the queen. Once you take there, I think he'll take back. However, I believe bishop takes is also acceptable. It looks quite risky for black. If I was playing this position, I'd have white, but let's see how it turns out. Oh, another thing. One player with 4 out of 6, Mr. Pauling. Let's see if I can find the game here. But he has managed to win his game, putting him at 5.6, 5 out of 6 points, which means he'll be one of 4 qualifiers for the tournament tomorrow. And with regards to qualifying, the third player, who was at 4 out of 6 points, has lost his game, leaving up a point to the winner of the Greatodu and NM match. So there are chances. We'll see how it turns out. Mr. Greatodu putting pressure here. Ooh, it does look, though, however, like black is up 2 pawns for seemingly no compensation. It's not looking the greatest for Great Odu. Attacking the pawn here, as you would. Black, I'm expecting to go rook c8 or something of the sort. However, with that being said, we are reaching the last 5 games of the tournament. Let's witness this game here. I'm expecting Kasib to oblige to a queen trade here. Ooh, his bishop is gone now, unfortunately. However, those of you who have finished the tournament and are tuning in, I just want to say thank you so much for attending the tournament. Hope to see you next time, and I hope you tune in tomorrow to watch the final qualifiers duke it out. Rising Sun. Let's go to this game. Oh no. For 2.2 advantage for the NM here. It's not looking great. Let's see if he can come back, fire it up. But it's looking quite grim. Final try by Mr. Ritolu. Point is, if you get mated. The title player doesn't fall for that, however, and chooses to push away the knight, expecting something like knight e6 or knight e4 here. See what happens. Up to the last 2 games of the tournament. This being the last, as well as this game between Mr. Shoferatu and Mr. Arov. With Black just being up 5 points of material and 5 points of advantage according to Stockfish. We'll see if he can recover from this, but we'll go back to this first seed. Takes the point now. The eval bar is slowly creeping up or down. It takes the pawn. White taking the c5 pawn, which is quite interesting as they're threatening this fork. However, it doesn't work anymore as White's queen is also hanging. But the eval bar has jumped up to a draw, meaning there's a chance that White could salvage this. Now, what is the move here? Is it to take? If takes and takes, what's the plan? Takes. This is drawn. Black has 1 pawn, but in the end, this is a theoretical draw. Will both players settle to a draw? A draw means there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 players with 4 out of 6 points each. draw does mean Mr. Greatodo advances to the next round due to his increased tie breaks. This is quite a nail-biting finish. Both players are down to less than 2 minutes. Expecting Mr. Greatodo to block here with Rook G3. Yep, and this happens to be, this is now officially the final game of the match. We're witnessing a player's shuffle. I think this is as good as a draw by agreement. Expecting one of the players to offer draw anytime now. Oh no, a crucial mistake. Black now has opposition, meaning that the king forced to go back and the white can, that black can get to the pawns first, meaning that the NM can win. How extremely unfortunate. No. This means that 2 players, assuming he converts his position, will end up with 5.5 out of 6, with the rest having 5 out of 6. That concludes the tournament. First of all, thank you everyone for coming out today, for playing and participating in this tournament. And secondly, thank you for participating in this tournament, and thank you for supporting the club. And secondly, the 4 players, Mr. Gal, That Guy on Chess, Paulinho, and Coalescent are our 4 qualifiers. Best of luck to them tomorrow, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you have any questions, contact me by email or Discord. Thank you so much.